Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Coco Bandicoot here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series while we playing through Klonoa Daughter Phantomile for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to explore through Vision 2-1, as well as Vision 2-2. And as a result, we did somehow manage to tackle for those levels no problem, and relatively speaking we somehow claim ourselves the first gold medal for that particular true completionist during the forms of Vision 2-1, because obviously we somehow collected every single crystals for that part, despite the fact that we've accidentally stumbled across into the first step of the playthrough. So, but that's perfectly fine for me anyway, because exponentially I'll grab some more extra lives later down the road. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing things on throughout the game, specifically in Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, and because of that we are now able to explore into Vision 3-1. So as far as I'm aware, we are returning back into the forms of the forest environment, because as far as I'm aware, I believe that about the fact no matter what though is that the majority of some levels coming up will be a little bit more lengthy. So because of that though, which is especially noticeable until when it gets to the point until in Vision 3-2, so that might actually get some bit of potentials about the fact that, well, you get the idea for this point. So anyways, there's nothing else I can really say about this, I guess, apart from the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there's the 20th of February today, in some cases in 2024 today. I think, generally speaking, we've only just got about 10 more days to go, until not only we've somehow approached onto March, but also about the fact that we've almost approaching to spring, because as you can see on this level right here, that the actual forest itself has come back to life once again, thanks to the forms of that particular water solution or something. So because of that, despite the fact it's been about 5 days ago since we've last played this game for sure, just because you know about the fact that recently we've already did manage to tackle something a little bit more specialty for our channel, which appears to be, of course, the 13th anniversary did already happen ever since in a couple of days ago. And as a result, I'm pretty sure that Trixie is pretty much rage quit for the majority of the forms of the Ludo game. But I'm sure enough though is about the fact that between Trixie, along with Starlight Glimmer, and Mighty, and Ray, they all had a really had an enjoyable time playing Ludo for once. Especially concerning for the fact that I'm pretty sure about them, no matter what though, that I'm pretty sure that Starlight Glimmer did somehow manage to able to become a host of the forms of the next upcoming Let's Play in the future. But relatively speaking, we'll have to wait and see what happens in due time. So anyway, there's also another thing I want to address something about this potentially speaking, is that, well, suffice to say, there is that particular film that did recently came out not too long ago, to be more specifically 6 days ago, called Madame Web. Apparently though, what I've noticed about the fact that that particular film in mind did receive the lowest review scores yet, and that's mainly because it's hard for me to explain any of this, because especially noticeable because I haven't exactly seen the film yet, but relatively speaking it's about the fact I think we did somehow manage to point things out is that, yeah, according to Rotten Tomatoes website, that basically that film just now received the actual well, a pretty miserable score. Like, usually back then, it did somehow receive for about 16% or 17% or something like that, which it was pretty low, considering about the fact that that was the newest Marvel films for the time, and eventually later on, that the actual review scores drop even lower into 14%. So, yeah, that seems really low, especially concerning for the fact that I'm not exactly sure what's causing it for that particular bad reviews like this, so I'm sure that most people are already pointing things out during at some point and during the forms of some reviews of that particular film in mind. Although, personally speaking I'm still pretty much hyped about the forms of Kung Fu Panda 4, and potentially speaking is about the fact that I'm pretty sure we've only just got about almost exactly 1 month left until that film decides to release. So, anyways, there's also another thing I want to address something about this as well, is that during the Evolves event in Japan, they're about to be receiving the actual McDonald's Happy Meal toys based off from Kirby. So as a result, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting about the fact that Kirby is about to be able to receiving the actual McDonald's Happy Meal toys in Japan until specifically on, I would say on Friday, on the 23rd of February, as far as I'm aware. So, but even then though, yeah, it seems pretty cool though, especially that unlike in most English versions of specific Happy Meal toys nowadays, is that potentially speaking though, is about the fact that we are basically stuck with the forms of that specific, you know, cardboard inserts, in order able to realize about the fact that they changed the actual industry. Whilst in the Evolves in Japan though, that obviously they still managed able to do plastic toys and stuff like that. Like, I believe there are, I would say, 8 different toy counterparts of Kirby Happy Meal toys for Japan. So as a result, they did somehow claim the first 4 for Wave 1 and the other 4 for Wave 2. For Wave 1 does manage to contain 3 different expressions of Kirby, and also it actually contains Waddle Dee as well. And as far as Wave 2 is concerned, obviously 3 more expressions for Kirby, in addition with the forms of Cone Kirby from the likes of that particular mouthful mode in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and also Yellow Kirby was there as well. So generally speaking, it was almost like a, well, I don't know about you, because it's been quite a while since we've actually mentioned something related to Kirby, but that's a reason for this, because recently, during the Evolves event the past few days ago, not only did we somehow receive the first ever new content has been available for the sake of the forms of Sonic Dream Team, but also we got ourselves some even more information thanks to the forms of the actual shadow drops on X or Twitter back then. And as a result, we actually got ourselves some new transformations for Princess Peach Showtime. So as a result, we should probably explain more details about those if we get onto the forms of the most lengthiest level in the game. Well, at least so far anyway. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that, let's get to the forms of another topic at this point throughout. It's that, what I've noticed is about the fact that the reviews for Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake on the Switch, it did somehow receive some very generally positive reviews. Like, for instance, that IGN gives the game a 7 out of 10, same applies with GameSpot, also gives the game 7 out of 10, Game Informer gives the game 8 out of 10, Destroyed did somehow give the game 7.5 out of 10. Game Reactor receives the game 8 out of 10. Eurogamer receives the game as in 4 stars out of 5. So, and Metro gives the game 7 out of 10. And as far as Polygon, it's basically unknown at this point. So, as a result, yeah, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake on the Switch did receive very well when it comes to review scores. So, I'm not exactly sure about the actual sales numbers just yet though, because obviously we've already just got the forms of the most recent updates for that particular sales updates already, ever since in the beginning portion of February. So, anyways, something's worth noting for is about the fact that, speaking of which though, I was expecting about the fact that some people seem to say that originally though, that the Nintendo Direct was supposed to be taking place in during the Evolves event last week, but something tells me about the fact that that particular Nintendo Direct alone got delayed, probably because of how the fact that during the Evolves event last Thursday, on the 15th of February, just before our celebration happens, for our 13th anniversary special just happened, for the Maxi Toys YouTube channel, something tells me is about the fact that the reason why that the Nintendo Direct has been delayed slightly, mainly because of the actual Xbox updates has been going on. So because of that though, ranging from let's just say with the broadcast and or podcast, whatever you want to be more specific. And in addition to that though, is that something tells me is that most of those Xbox games might decide able to become a third-party support or something like that. It's kind of hard to tell honestly, because I know for a fact that at this point in time, that as far as I'm usually concerned, the actual video game industry for 2024 is going through a bit of a drought recently. Like, I know for a fact that it kind of reminds me of the forms of 2020 all over again, but thankfully though, it's nowhere near as bad as the forms of how it does it for the sake of 2020, because you know what I'm saying about the fact that 2020 is the worst year ever exists. So either way though, that's as far as saying something, aside from good highlights, you know, with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and you probably name the rest of it though, so... Anyway though, speaking of the forms of drought, what I've noticed is about the fact that apparently though, there won't be any major PlayStation 5 titles until 2025, and that's gonna be pretty strange to able to notice something like this, especially concerning for the fact that at this point in time, that it looks like no matter what though, is about the fact that PlayStation 5 sales expected to decline. So, I'm not exactly sure what that means to be exactly, but I suppose no matter what though, despite the fact that we still haven't exactly owned the PlayStation 5, well that's just mainly because of that specific no PlayStation 5 exclusive stuff from now on. And exponentially speaking though, it's about the fact that we still have no idea when does Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is about to be releasing. Neither did the forms of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link on mobile phone devices, and especially noticeable with Kingdom Hearts 4, but I'm pretty sure that my hopes and dreams about this is that I always keep on dreaming about something about the fact that if Dragon Ball Sparking Zero comes out on the next generation Nintendo console, I should be really happy for it. And as far as I'm concerned, if Kingdom Hearts 4 will be also on the next generation Nintendo console, I'll also be happy about it, assuming of course it's a hybrid system. But again, it's just about the fact that, like what Maxi has already said this before, there's a lot of leaks and rumors out there, and because of that though, I was maybe thinking I might as well stop listening to the forms of rumors and leaks for now, just because sometimes you never know exactly what's about to happen, and on top of all that stuff though, sometimes though is about the fact that the actual information is not exactly 100% accurate, so relatively speaking we shall wait and see what happens in due time. And it looks like we've made our way to the end of the stage, because somehow we just realized that we come towards the dead end right there, which we can't do anything as of now until we meet up with this guy right here, which obviously he'll able to actually allows us to able to enter in the actual tree itself. So anyways though, yeah, let's get to the forms of another topic at this point today, is that generally speaking though, is about the fact that I've noticed about the fact that there's actually a lot of dislikes for the sake of the forms of this new trailer to show up, for the sake of the forms of Megamind versus the Doom Cinegrate, I think is what it says anyway. So generally speaking though, is about the fact that I've noticed about the fact that for that particular trailer alone, did somehow receive almost 1 million views, but as far as likes and dislikes as far as I'm concerned, likes did have a grand total of 6,692 likes, whilst compared to dislikes though, it was actually a lot more. I'm guessing it does have the exact same issue as the forms of how it does it for Spirit Untamed, where basically though is about the fact that the actual the sidekick is now going to be introduced in that particular film, which is going to be a pretty mixed bag as far as impressions goes. And on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that the visual style is nowhere near as nice as the forms of how it does it on the first film. In fact, I might actually consider able to give Megamind a bit of a second chance until later on, once that particular potential sequel is about to be coming out. So just I'm sure to able to compare both of those films within the same premise or something. So, but either way though, despite the fact that we haven't exactly you know, access to other streaming services aside from Netflix, Disney Plus, you name the rest. So, and as far as I'm aware, is about the fact that we have no idea when does Wish will be releasing on the forms of Disney Plus until for some weeks time. But then again, we'll have to wait and find out and join at some point. So, speaking of Disney's Wish though, I'm a little bit ticked off at this point, as far as I'm aware, because do you guys even remember back in the day, specifically for those of you who lived in the UK, they obviously did manage to bring ourselves a bit of a Disney Classics number coding on the actual spines on the DVD covers. Well, as it turns out, it's about the fact that every once in a while, Wish did somehow digest that particular numbering system with the Disney Classics numbering system, and I was like, are you kidding me? Especially concerning for the fact that that was considerably the 62nd traditional animated feature for Disney, and because of that though, oh boy, things is not looking that great at this point, especially concerning for the fact that, well, I know for a fact that obviously no matter what though, it's kind of hard to explain really, because like I said before, it's been about 5 days ago since I've actually last played this. But either way, enough about that particular massive rant for a moment ago. And as it turns out, we somehow made our way to inside the actual tree itself. And we stopped by that particular, or let's just say almost like a goal net or something like that. Almost related to the football net, or the football goal rather. But either way, this is where we start able to introduce into ourselves these bomb-like enemies. So just in case we can use them as projectiles, or to be more specifically, just try to toss the bomb onto the background or the foreground, depending on what specific switches you need to activate for. So, generally speaking, I was about the fact that this level is going to be pretty lengthy as far as I'm usually concerned, because it does manage to require us a lot of backtracking involved, which is especially noticeable concerning for the fact that you need to grab the key right here from the very beginning, and then you have to backtrack for a bit, and eventually at some point, once we get to Vision 5, alongside with Vision 6, that's basically those levels are going to be really long. So, but exponentially speaking though, I will try my best able to actually complete certain stages in the quickest amount of time for that particular recording session, so oh yeah, as far as I'm aware, also, is about the fact that recently Maxi, he's almost finishing up everything for Sonic's story for Sonic 06. So, generally speaking, that always seems to be a little bit more standard stuff for the most part, especially concerning for the fact that, I suppose we should probably let Maxi mention more about some other topics at some point in the future, but for now, I just need to able to try to focus on this, especially concerning for the fact that sometimes trying to go for a serious amount of tiny platforms might feel a little bit tricky sometimes, because then again, it's been 5 days since I've last played this, so there we go. So at least we got one of those citizens as far as I'm usually concerned. But anyway, so yeah, let's talk about the forms of another topic for this point, is that did you know until around that time, until let's just say on the 14th of February in 2025, that I believe YouTube will eventually going to become 20 years old until specifically in 2025. So what do I mean by that? Well, because potentially speaking, I suppose we should probably save that particular topic until for a later time. Just because for now on, though, it's about the fact that let's get into the forms of the most important aspect about the forms of today's topic. That's, of course, new information on not only Sonic Dream Team, but also with the forms of Princess Peach Showtime. First of all, in terms of Sonic Dream Team, there's actually a couple of new stuff that's been added. Like, for instance, they've added in the Speed Battle Content Update Pack, which obviously not only does it contain the forms of the records to beat your best time, which is basically like time attack, and on top of that, the bosses are bumped and ready for 8 new missions, and also speed to the finish and climb the leaderboards. So, generally speaking, it's just for the sake of the forms of online experience when it comes to time trials, and especially noticeable that certain bosses are actually going to get a lot more, let's just say, stronger or something like that. Although I still haven't exactly experienced the game just yet, though, just because, like we've already established that before, it's kind of a shame about the fact that that game has been locked out behind, you know, the Apple Arcade services. So, kind of unfortunate, really. But as a result, that's as far as I can try to able to explain about that particular update as far as this is concerned. But either way, though, let's just go and continue progress onwards for this point right here. And straight to the point is about the fact that it looks like Joker did somehow manage to able to lock the door right here, and we definitely need to go after him somehow. So because of that, and I get the horrible feeling about the fact I think I might able to actually just lose a life on this particular part right here, mainly because no matter what though, I just keep on getting hit most of the time by the forms of not only too much enemies, but it's also with the forms of some bomb-like enemies that attempt to able to, jeez, not to mention though that, again, with the invincibility frames doesn't seem to last, because obviously the invincibility frames does not exist at all, so dang it, I was expecting to try to grab this bomb-like enemy, but then I was not hesitating it, and unfortunately though, I was a little bit too far back, so this means that I have to go all the way back for that particular segment again, so, but that's fine, because as far as I'm aware, Much like the forms of how it does it on maybe the PlayStation version, along with the Wii version or something like that. I'm pretty certain about the fact that, thankfully though, the cutscenes will no longer be replayable, unless assuming if you're trying to able to restart the stage again or something. So anyway, yeah, let's get to the forms of the most important aspect about this particular topic is that, well, we got ourselves some new transformations for the sake of Princess Peach Showtime. And those 4 costumes in particular has been added, which there are Mighty Peach, Mermaid Peach, Dashing Thief Peach, and finally Figure Skater Peach, and making a grand total of 10 costumes to wear for Princess Peach Showtime. So that's actually quite a good amount, especially concerning for the fact that, kind of think about it, whenever I first looked at the forms of Mermaid Peach in action, it does kind of remind me like I was watching The Little Mermaid almost. In fact, a lot of people seem to already address that. So I'm sure enough though is about the fact that it seems pretty cool with that particular costume for her. And on top of that, with Dashing Thief Peach, it does kind of remind me like Persona 5 vibes to it though, which is especially noticeable concerning for the fact that not only because of her mask, but also with the forms of the actual stylish music has been going on. And in addition to that, Mighty Peach does kind of remind me of the forms of, let's just say, Hero from the likes of Big Hero 6 vibes because of the forms of the suit and everything. And finally, most notably, is with the Figure Skater Peach, obviously does remind me of something related to Princess Elsa from Frozen, and technically if you also want to count the Ice Power-Up transformation for Peach in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, if you also want to count that. Spoiler alert for those who have not seen the film yet, but regardless of everything else though, is about the fact that it seems kind of interesting about the fact that it almost have the exact same vibes for certain aspects when it comes to the forms of different styles or anything. So, and I think at this point is about the fact that I'm pretty sure most of those information for the sake of Princess Peach Showtime is basically done for now. Well, apart from the fact that there's one other thing I want to address something about this as well. Do you know about the fact that ever since, and technically speaking, that's ever since in 2019, where basically there's a game called Yoshi's Crafted World, where basically not only that game has been made by the forms of Nintendo, but also with good feel, but it runs on the forms of Unreal Engine 4. Well, as it turns out, it's about the fact that Princess Peach Showtime is also getting itself its Unreal Engine, Engine kind of running. Which, kind of think about it, it's almost like the exact same premise as the forms of Pikmin 4, in regards to the forms of that specific the game is actually running on. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that, relatively speaking, as for the sake of the forms of this month, in February, it has been confirmed that Princess Peach Showtime has been developed on the Unreal Engine 4, making or marking the second time the engine has been used for a game in a Super Mario franchise after Yoshi's Crafted World. And this is also the third time has been used for the Nintendo game as a whole, with Pikmin 4 also using it. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that, yeah, it seems like we've got 3 games running on Unreal Engine 4. Not only for Yoshi's Crafted World, but also with Pikmin 4, and now Princess Peach Showtime. So generally speaking though, that's actually pretty swell. So yeah, that's as far as I can say about this, I guess. Oh, there's also another thing I want to address something about this as well. That yes, we've already did somehow receive the Shadow the Hedgehog costume for Sonic Superstars. And apparently a lot of people seem to do not like this costume as much, mainly because not only is it the biggest and massive disappointment, but it's also about the fact that it kind of feels a bit, well, out of place, which is almost like, think of like the forms of wearing a hoodie or something like that when it comes to certain cosplay characters and stuff like that. But no matter what though, yeah, it's kind of out of place and stuff like that, because it's, I think, relatively speaking though, I believe that particular costume is only exclusive for Sonic, because as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's possible that Tails can able to wear it, or Knuckles, or Amy, and especially noticeable with the other character, which I'm probably not going to address that, because obviously that game is already came out just recently, despite the fact that unfortunately Sonic Superstars did somehow struggles with the forms of that particular sales numbers, but as far as I'm aware, not only because of the forms of how the fact that that game was incredibly flopped, but it's also very sluggish sales-wise, because I'm pretty sure no matter what though, I think there's a good reason for it, or there's a reason for it, because it did came out roughly the exact same week as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so as a result, that gives Sonic Superstars a bit of a huge disadvantage when it comes to sales numbers, so that's what I was expecting anyway, because I'm pretty sure that Super Mario Bros. Wonder did receive really well, especially concerning because of how the fact there is a brand new 2D Mario game ever since in New Super Mario Bros. U back on the Nintendo Wii U, so... But either way, so I suppose there's also another thing I want to mention about this as well, that we actually got ourselves the actual current results for the most recent Splatfest during the informs of Splatoon 3. And as a result, those are basically the days of the week kind of teams, which there are Team Friday, Team Saturday, and Team Sunday. And the winner for that particular Splatfest just recently is that Team Friday for some reason wins. So as a result, it was awfully pretty close in between both Team Friday as well as Team Sunday, because as far as I'm aware, Team Saturday receives about 15 points, and Team Sunday receives 18 points, and for Team Friday receives 24 points. So yeah, it's interesting to say the least, especially concerning for the fact that, well, I just have no idea why that the majority of some players did manage able to get the massive majority vote for Team Friday for that most recent Splatfest that already seems to exist. So, anyways, here we go with this next boss fight right here, and thanks for the hint again, Joker, because you certainly did help me for a bit, because obviously we can able to take care of this guy right here. And potentially speaking of, this boss fight is a little bit tricky, because all you have to do in this fight right here is to constantly, you need to able to grab yourself the actual enemies right here. They constantly decide able to jump in the background, and you have to grab them immediately, so you can able to potentially try to able to do this technique right here, and you know, aim at this weak spot right there, so just in case you can potentially try to deal the amount of damage on him. So, and do this for about quite a few times, and exponentially you can deal with it no problem. So, and eventually at some point he decides to able to summon the actual, this rolling spike ball that you do need to jump over. So, generally speaking though, yeah, I see this boss fight as nowhere near as, like, annoying until whatever we get to later on though. But, well, exponentially speaking though, that's as far as I can try to able to explain any of these kind of stuff. And I was not further away or I was so close to able to just try to hit him, so... Again, I apologize for my commentary because it's a little bit slightly bare bones at this point, because I'm pretty sure for the fact that when it comes to huge gaming industries up to this point, that it seems like it's almost going to a drought again ever since in 2020, so... But anyway, I suppose the final thing I want to mention about something is about the fact that I think what I've noticed is about the fact that there's a whole range of the 2025 superhero movies is going to be on its way, and they've listed for about 6 films they did somehow decide able to release until next year in 2025, and those are Captain America, Brave New World, I think is what it says anyway, and there's also Thunderbolts, and also Superman Legacy, Fantastic Four, which, conveniently enough, it actually receives a new logo just recently, what I've noticed anyway, and on top of that, the Batman 2, and finally, I would say Blade, yeah, I did say Blade, so... Yeah, that's quite a lot of films that it did somehow receive for 2025's release for the list of superhero movies as far as I'm aware. Oh, technically speaking though, there was technically one more thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, better late than never I suppose. Happy 70th birthday for the sake of John Travolta. Which, for those of you who want to know who he is, not only did he somehow became an actor from Greece, but also with the forms of Face Off, for I've heard anyway, and also somehow Bolt, because as far as I'm aware, that's, yeah, that honestly, I was not expecting that he also did a voice of Bolt from Disney film Bolt, so... Yeah, it seems pretty interesting, to say the least, especially concerning for the fact that I do know the actor though, but it's just about the fact that it's been a very long while since I've actually last seen Greece ever since in a couple of days ago, concerning for the fact that we can able to potentially realize about the fact that I'm basically just moved on to other franchises recently, like for instance with you know what I'm saying, the Metroid series, and eventually at some point in the future, I might give Xenoblade Chronicles games another chance, so just in case I can able to actually understand the story, and thus not to mention though, all of the DLC is now being available, well, specifically for both Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3, despite the fact that I still need to try to save up at this point, especially concerning for the fact that I'm still begging for, you know what I'm saying, more information on Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, because it's been 5 months ago since we've last heard about it. And on top of that, same applies with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, despite the fact that the release date has technically already been confirmed for sometime in this summer. Like, we're not exactly sure when exactly for summer. It could be either June, July, or August. I think my prediction might be actually at some point in possibly in July or August, because as far as I'm concerned, that once that particular port decides to able to come out, obviously we can able to just instantly jump right into that and join at some point in, well, just before Halloween is about to approach for, you know, 2024 as far as I'm concerned. But anyway folks, that pretty much takes care of the forms of Vision 3-2, and that's pretty much as far as we can able to explore in the forest environment. So, it looks like no matter what though, we need to head back into the Wind Village, so just in case we need to, like, try to not let Joker decide able to do something a little bit more recklessness. So with that being said, we've got the endings off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series in Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, so that we go into Vision 4-1. So I'll see you guys until on Thursday. Later fellas.